that your home decor affects your health in any way?
It's not something that I've thought about until I did when this interview with our guest today, Miss Lesley Myrick, who is an interior designer and a business coach for interior designers. She really opens my eyes to how our environment affects our energy and health.
Yeah, it was quite enlightening. I really enjoyed this one. And before we dive in, let's give a shout out to Miss Pam McDonald. Thanks for listening. And now let's dive in.
Welcome to the Girls Talk Healthy Aging podcast, where we dive deep into pressing health and fitness issues facing aging women. I'm Alli Kerr.
And I'm Shawna Kaminski. And together we'll bring candid conversations, expert advice, and personal stories that will inspire and empower you on your own wellness journey.
I am so thankful for people like Lesley to help people like me who are lost in the sauce when it comes to anything about decorating, design, any of that, because I have no clue. So Lesley, thank goodness people like you exist, and welcome to the Girls Talk Healthy Aging podcast.
Well, thank you for having me, Alli and Shawna. I'm so excited, and this is so neat to know you in person, Alli, and then also be able to do this cool digital thing that reaches so many people.
Yes, and it's fascinating to think about interior design and how that affects health and aging. And so we're going to delve into that today, but we want to first hear a little bit about Lesley and how you got into this design world. So tell us about your background and what drew you to the world of design.
You know, I think I'm kind of that cliche design story where I was a kid and rearranging my furniture and painting my room and putting things up on the walls. And I just sort of intuitively understood from an early age that I liked being in a room that felt good. I knew there was a difference when I had my bed made and things decorated in a way and, bedding and pillows and rugs and decor and all of those things I would sort of experiment with. And I just had a lot of fun with it as a kid. And it's something that very logically translated as I got older into doing this as a career. So really that's like the 5-year-old Lesley version is I like to make people's houses pretty, but the 42-year-old Lesley's version is there is such immense value in being in an environment, being surrounded by a space that supports you, that you feel good in, that is uncluttered and helps you feel relaxed. And that doesn't mean it has to be like all white and boring. It just means it's so important to tune into what you love and want to surround yourself with. And it really does matter. Design is not just shopping for pretty things and pillows. It is impacting your well-being. And there's so many studies and so much research coming out right now about the power of design and the impact it has on our health.
So tell us a little bit about how your home environment can impact mental and emotional well-being.
Think about when things aren't working well. You walk in the front door and you trip on something, or it's too dark and you can't find the light switch and you're annoyed from the second you get in your home, or your mattress is too hard, or your bed sheets are too scratchy. I'm married to the pickiest bed sheet person I have ever known in my life, and it has to be just perfect so that he can get a good night's sleep. And it's easier, I think, to talk about what isn't working because we can all spot those things. There's clutter. There's something I'm looking at it right now on my other desk. There's something that's been there that's an unfinished project that has been nagging at me for days. And, there's a stain on the rug that's bugging you and takes your attention every time you see it. Or, the myriad ways that things cannot be working. And to understand that those can be fixed and you can make life easier and smoother and actually enjoy being in your space. You can truly rest and relax without thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to go fold that laundry that's over there in the corner or whatever that might be. So I think if you start paying attention to maybe the things that are kind of niggling at you in your home, you'll start to see, oh wait, if that was gone, how would things change? How would I feel better? How would my life improve?
Yeah, I think that what I hear you saying is that those things require energy. When something's out of place or out of order or unfinished, and we're seeing it every day, or the sheets that are bugging us, and we don't fix it every time we deal with that, it's causing stress.
Yeah.
And it's taking energy. And this is something I think I love that we're having you on, because I think this is something that's so overlooked that makes such a difference in just how we go through our day and how we feel and where our energy goes in our days.
Yes, it is a lot about energy. And I don't remember who said this, but I've heard it said that clutter is delayed decisions. So you mentioned energy. It's something that you got to do something with and you haven't, and it is constantly weighing on you. And full transparency, I'm a former professional organizer. I got into that when I was in design school. I love how that all intersects. So that is a big part of what I do and how I do it is, where can we hide clutter? How can we get better storage? But it's also like, how do we make spaces feel good? Part of that is decluttering it, but that's not all of it. It's about texture and lighting and color and pattern and making it really personal to you. What feels great to one person at home is not necessarily what someone else wants in their space.
So, what are some very simple design changes that you can implement immediately that will make your home feel more calming, supportive?
One thing immediately is, if you are using your overhead lights, your can lights, your ceiling fan light as your main light, turn that crap off and get yourself some lamps. Lighting truly can solve 80% of how a room feels, of the issues you have with the room. It is one of those things that we're so used to just having crappy lighting that we don't notice. But in my house, before I go to bed at night, it's kind of getting ridiculous. Like, there's no light switches to turn off. It's going through all the rooms and turning off 3 or 4 different lamps in every room. But it gives us, if you're watching on the video, you can see I have 3 lamps that you can see behind me. 2 are up high, and then there's one on the console behind me. And I have overhead light on right now because we're doing video. But honestly, lighting at eye level is just soothing and calming. You don't get those harsh shadows. Lamps are warmer and cozier. And if you've got lamps in your room you're not using, turn off the ugly overhead lights, turn on the lamps, and see how you feel. That's one of the biggest changes that you can make to make things feel calmer and just feel better. Like, you can't always put your finger on it. You're like, I just like how this feels more. Or for me, when my kids will leave the overhead lights on and I'm like, this feels terrible in here. Like, how do you not notice that this is awful? So that's one big tip.
From a sleep perspective, the recommendation is to reduce overhead lighting and use lighter, like more calming light, more lamps, dimmer lighting, because it helps with sleeping as well. So it's a double whammy for relaxation.
Yes, absolutely. And it will help you wind down for bed, get more rest. Those overhead lights are never on, but even as bedtime gets closer, I like to have fewer lamps on and just sort of ease into that transition.
We're going to interrupt this interview for just a second because we've got something we want to make sure that you know. If you're struggling with your health, with your fitness, if you don't know where to start, or you know what to do and you're not doing it, we're here for you. And all you need to do to get our help is to reach out to Shawna and I at our email, sapodcast23@gmail.com. And we're happy to help and we will be in touch. Now back to the show.
I also think too, when it comes to making your home feel calmer, we often, when we're designing a room, I would say, like, most normal people don't work like designers do and go one room top to bottom, everything is picked at once. You're kind of collecting things over time and doing it. And you might not even realize you've kind of accidentally created multiple focal points, multiple places that are taking your attention. So if you can figure out, say a living room with a fireplace, for example. A fireplace is a natural focal point. But if you've painted an accent wall over here and have something crazy over there, suddenly your eye doesn't know where to go to rest. And if you can reorient your space, whether it's physically moving furniture, whether it's painting, decor, to have one focal point per room, it really does quiet that visual environment and just your eyes and your body know what to do. They're not confused and overwhelmed by all the things that they're sort of mentally ping-ponging around to.
And you talk about your own personality and how that, I know, of course, goes into your style and the things that you like. So can you talk to us about that as far as how your design, what you like, and then also how personality should affect our space?
I love that question because personality is kind of the keystone of my business. And we talk about doing personality driven interiors. And sometimes people are like, what does that even mean? Your personality, my personality? A little of both. And honestly, personality doesn't have to mean loud, bold. It just has to mean you. And I think people are often really afraid to trust their own intuition when it comes to design, to trust that they like what they like and that's okay. I had a client once back when I lived in Waco, Texas, the land of white shiplap and beige walls, which of course I stuck out like a sore thumb. But she showed me a picture of this gorgeous, it was like a hot pink Aztec rug, like really cool and textured and colorful. And I saw the way her face lit up. And she looked at me and she said, yeah, but I could never have that. It took me aback. I was like, why not? And she just didn't trust that what she liked was valuable or important or would support her. She just thought like, well, everyone else's homes are builder beige and safe and calming. And I'm air quoting all of these because I don't think hot pink rug is not those things, but it was very interesting. I think there's a misconception about what it means to put your personality in your home, and you cannot build a home you love if you're always choosing the safe choices. You're never going to feel good in that space if you're picking finishes, furniture, materials, fixtures to align with what someone else thinks is the right choice. And I think it's fun to just start small and try something with personality. Like it doesn't have to be your main living room, but do you have a powder room, a guest room, something that's small and contained where you're like, you know what? I do want the hot pink rug. I'm gonna put it in there and it's gonna make me smile every time I walk by. And remember, like nothing is permanent. This is not a tattoo. This is paint and fabric. Things can be changed. You can swap it, you can try it. I think it's fun to experiment. And I really hope that if someone is listening that kind of has had that nudge, but is, living in the safe environment that, you just feel kind of meh. And I know, if you're listening and you're like, yeah, that's me, start small, but start to listen to what your gut is telling you that it wants to be surrounded by.
So maybe people are a little more concerned with what everybody else thinks rather than what makes them happy. And that would be maybe one of your best pieces of advice is what makes you happy.
Yeah. Yep. And making a decision and going with it. I have a lovely client right now, but she's having the hardest time making decisions. And we will get a design plan done. And then she will ask her sister and her friend and her daughter. And then they will look at magazines and come up with new ideas. And then she questions everything. And I promise you know more about what you want and need at home than you think. And it's not about what's trending. What are my neighbors going to think? Are my friends going to think this is a Pinterest worthy room? It's those little nudges of like, oh, that's really cool. I like that. I don't know why I like it, but I do. And starting to lean into that and not turning to anyone for advice that you wouldn't want their style in your home because everyone has an opinion when it comes to design for sure.
Maybe one of the issues with design and why many people don't live in a home that they love is because they can't make a decision, because not making a decision is a decision. And so something is just left and then it just never gets changed.
And wrong decisions are very expensive. A wrong couch, there's thousands of dollars gone. And then you're questioning your judgment and decision making, and that doesn't work. And then you're trying to find other things that work with the thing that doesn't work. So absolutely. I mean, I sort of joke about it, but it's true. I'm a paid decision maker. That's essentially what my job is. I am making decisions for people to help them. And my goal as a designer is truly to save people time, money, and mistakes, because there's so much out there. And I mean, design seems easy on the surface, but if you have tried it, you know there's trusting your intuition, absolutely. There's also knowing scale and color and proportion and balance and will the sofa fit through your front door? And those details that all need to come together. But you're absolutely right. It's very easy to get off track early and then doubt that you are capable at all. So that's why I'm saying start small. Do a little bit of dabbling here. Maybe don't go redo the living room today, but is there somewhere that you can kind of start turning on a lamp, adding a pillow that you love, starting to figure out what do I love, what does feel good in here, and how can I sort of embrace that and not be afraid to try new things.
And with AI now and all the
Mm.
tools that are out there to help people with decorating, I will tell you, it's still, I mean, for somebody lost like me, it only can go so far. So, what are things that you see that and that you can guide people on that maybe we might miss if we're, on our AI? And how are those tools useful and how are those tools maybe not complete?
Okay, well, I will first say I love AI. My Chat GPT is my robot boyfriend, and he helps me with a lot of work tasks, and I'm very grateful for that. And as a designer, I feel like AI is a fabulous tool for communicating ideas that are in my head and getting it into a form people can see. But AI is not telling you or understanding why a sofa should be 86 inches instead of 94, or where to get that beautiful pillow that's in the rendering that looks great, but you can't find anything like it. So I do think AI is a great tool for homeowners when it comes to concepts. Like if you're sort of thinking of something and can't quite put your finger on it and want to just test, like, hey, I have a modern farmhouse living room, but I want to see what it looks like with a mustard yellow couch. You can do that and start to see and play. And I think it's a really safe way to do that rather than buying that couch and getting it delivered and going, I don't like that. But in terms of being able to fully design spaces with AI and then have it be shoppable and complete, I imagine at some point it will get there, but making it happen is a really hard process to find. Where do you purchase these things? Can you get them custom made? We can. How do you hire contractors? Who do you hire to paint the wall to look good with the new sofa? So I gratefully am not worried AI is coming from a job. I see it being a really good support for designers and for homeowners too, in being able to get quick visuals and get feedback in almost real time on ideas you might have. And like, hey, here's a picture of the hot pink rug. Like, show me how this could look in my bedroom. What else would I do to make this work? And it can start helping you tune into what you love and visualize it, because that's a big challenge, is liking one thing but not knowing how it's going to be seen in context. So I think AI is fun. It's useful for me and really, really fun, I think, for homeowners when they're starting to ideate and experiment with new things for their home.
What design features in a home would help, where the girls talk healthy aging? What would you suggest design features to support women as we age?
These are such smart things to be thinking about at any age, because there's lots of ways to incorporate elements that are going to help you as maybe, I don't know, maybe there's mobility challenge or vision challenge as things go on, but lighting is a big one. I know that I just said don't turn on your overhead lights, but you need to have them because maybe at some point there is a safety issue or a comfort issue where you need more brightness in a room and lamps alone aren't going to cut it. So I think having layered lighting is really important. Bathroom layouts that future-proof the home but don't look like a hospital bathroom. Curbless walk-in showers. There's beautiful handrails and things. And I guess I'm talking about like really aging here, but you never know when something might happen where you have an injury or an illness or a mobility challenge. So think about, bathrooms especially can be trouble spots when it comes to renovating and design. And I actually am really grateful that there's a shift towards making these things more beautiful and accessible. And it's not such a taboo to be like, oh, you have bars in your shower, but we're just going to make this easy now so that we can transition into it. I think too, when it comes to the visuals, if vision is a challenge, high contrast design, so maybe your floor is dark and your furniture's light or vice versa, anything that can help with depth perception could be something. I'm also going to say buy the best mattress you can afford that you love, because I don't know what has happened since I turned 40, but apparently I can't sleep anymore and it sucks. So I want a nice comfy bed and a good pillow. And then I would say storage too. Like, is there smart storage you can build in now that you know as you will be aging that you're not bending so much or lifting things off high shelves? Can you incorporate pullouts in kitchen drawers or cupboards, things that are going to, be great and convenient now and just make things easier, and you don't have to be stressing about it as your physical needs do change.
And what about, I'm going to kind of switch back a little bit to the design. I love all the things that you just said about the things that because I do think we probably aren't thinking about those things. And if we're redesigning a home in our 50s, probably be a good idea to be thinking about the things you just talked about, like those, some pretty
those
bars.
Aging in place things. I know. And like, it's crazy to think about, but also you're right. If you're investing in a renovation, you want it to last 10, 15, 20 years. And I've done the math and I know what my age will be in 20 years and I might be needing some of those features. So I think it's very smart to be thinking ahead and integrating it in a way that is beautiful and just makes things even more functional.
And I love that there are better options available now, because, I'm thinking about the suction stick-on kind of bars is what I've got in my mind.
Yep.
And the shower chairs and the beautiful, those are not beautiful, but
but there
certainly
are
they
beautiful
serve
options now.
Yeah, that's exciting to hear. Well, what about color? How does color impact a room, impact our mood, impact our sleep, all the things?
I love color. Truly, I don't think a white room is necessarily calming. It can be, but I think there's a misconception that light white is, spa-like and calming. But I've been in some dark, moody rooms where you just kind of feel like you're being wrapped in a hug and it feels beautiful to be in there. And color really is emotional. It's going to guide your nervous system how to feel. So a room with, electric lime green walls, like my bedroom when I was 16, is going to feel very different than a room with deep, rich navy walls or soft gray walls. So we all know that like those earthy, any colors you sort of find outside tend to be very restorative, grounded. Blues, greens, browns, those beautiful earthy tones. If you want something that's more bold and energized, of course, you can play with some bolder colors. In my office here, I work with color all day long. So I have like a dark teal ceiling and a band, but most of my office is white because I'm working with so many colors for other people's homes. I don't want to be as influenced by what's around me. So I really feel like color is something to not be scared of. I'm loving the color drenching trend, if you've heard of that, where, baseboard, walls, crown, ceiling, everything is painted the same color. Ceilings are not just white. It's gorgeous. And it feels so good to be in those spaces. I think if there's a color you love, first of all, when it comes to paint colors, I'm going to give you one tip. If there's a color you love, find the grayer, duller, sadder, boringer version of it, which sounds nuts, but those slightly muted colors tend to work a lot better on walls than really bright, saturated colors. But we're doing an addition project right now, and in the study, we did this gorgeous, like deep, sagey, greeny gray color, and the floor is beautiful oak, and all the walls and ceiling are this color, and it is just this like cocoon of a room where it is beautiful lighting and comfortable seating, and it just feels so special and different, and it's just paint. So white is not always the answer. White,
I know it's so popular right now, but yeah.
And it can work beautifully.
Yeah.
But lighting affects it so much, and there's definitely a misconception that if you paint your walls white, you're going to have a light, bright room, and that's just not the case. Unless your lighting allows for that, which unless you're living in like Scandinavia, probably doesn't, or California.
So if you're on a budget, you had just mentioned paint, but I'm curious
Mhm.
will come up with this is what are the top 2 to 3 impactful changes that you can make while on a budget?
Yes, you nailed it. Paint is, I think, the first one. And in my mind, paint is much cheaper than it actually is. I think I remember the price from like 30 years ago. So I'm like, wow, that paint costs that much now? But truly, paint is going to have one of the biggest impacts because it takes up such a huge surface. So paint for sure. I'm going to go back to lighting. I'm harping on that, but it's so important. Swap your lighting fixtures. If you have those like builder grade boob lights or really ugly, crappy, the Home Depot special chandeliers, please get pretty lighting, something that makes you happy, something that is soft and beautiful and maybe a little sparkly, maybe interesting. I think light fixtures and chandeliers can be such a cool design feature, and they're often just like afterthoughts of like, all right, we'll just go to the big box store and pick up something. So paint, lighting, and again, going back to it, but it's so important, declutter and style your surfaces. Be intentional with how things are arranged. Think of when you walk into a hotel and you're like, oh, this just feels nice. It's because there's not crap everywhere because the counters are clean and the beds are made and the nightstands are tidy. So can you take what you have and make it look beautiful? Can you arrange your books by color? Can you do stacks of books? Do something, a beautiful book on your coffee table with a bowl on it. Get rid of the remotes and the random pencils and kids' homework that got left behind, and just let your space breathe a little bit. I know that's easier said than done too. I mean, like we've all got lives and stuff, but paint, lighting, and decluttering will start to get you on the path of like, oh, there's potential here. Like this can feel good. And then, if you want to start swapping out some furniture or other things, go for it. But those are going to have a big impact with the least investment for sure.
I love that. And that is so helpful for the clueless like me when it comes to design. One of the clueless things that I've been lost on is texture. And my sister is my little resident design person when I do Airbnbs or things like that. And so she'll tell me, well, you need some more texture in this room. And I'm like, what do you mean? So can you speak to us about texture?
Your sister's very smart is first of all what I'm going to say, because you can have things be fairly low contrast and it can feel really boring, or it can be rich woods and hammered metals and velvets and linens and beautiful fabrics, and there's contrast with not only the touch, like is it really fine and delicate, is it thick and chunky, is it shiny, is it dull. That is such an important part of design, is having those differences. Like maybe when you do that color drenching, I love doing the walls at a very like flat paint, but then all the trim with the semi-gloss. So it's the same color, but you're getting a little bit of difference. Or, instead of having 3 cotton pillows on your sofa that are the same fabric as your sofa, maybe one is like a soft mohair velvet, maybe one is a tapestry or a pattern. So starting to introduce different materials, even like, and they don't have to all match. Please understand that when it comes to like woods and metals, they don't have to be matchy-matchy. Do not go buy the sofa, love seat, chair, coffee table, end table, living room set that some stores are going to try to sell you that are all identical. Add in some contrast. Maybe the end tables are like a hammered brass and your coffee table is wood. I think when you can start to play around with just things that look and feel beautiful, that's what really gives a space depth and character.
And I think what you said about putting things that you love in the space, you get a feel for when you go into someone's space, and even if it's eclectic, but it represents the person, there's just something special about that, as opposed to like going into a space that is, I want to say so vanilla, because you might be afraid to use color or texture, or I'm just being so safe. It's like, oh, well, this is just like maybe a Hilton, or like something so plain.
Yep. And I think texture. And then I also wanted to mention, I should have thought about this earlier with the budget friendly changes, but art. And I say budget friendly because it doesn't have to be about going and buying beautiful originals, which I do love. And I have lots of clients that are art collectors, but often, we've been on a vacation and bought, I don't know, a painting from like a seaside vendor or been to a flea market or a vintage store. Work that stuff in. That's the stuff that really makes a home feel like it has soul and character and depth and keeps it from looking like a hotel and actually makes it yours. And it tells a story. I think that's so important, that your home is not a museum or a hotel, but it's your story. It's your family's story.
And how do you approach it when, let's say I come to you, Lesley, and I'm like, help? What is your process when you have a new client of going through and figuring out how to take them from lost like me to, oh my gosh, I'm happy in my home now?
Well, often clients will come to me and they will already have, a Pinterest board, magazines, something that gives a bit of visual direction. So that's always a great starting point. A picture is worth 1,000 words, as we all know. And so if clients have those things, those are great jumping off points we can discuss. Like, what do you like about this? Is it the overall feel of the room? Is it a particular color, texture? Is it the style of the sofa? Is it the beam on the ceiling? And I can start to sort of pull out, okay, we might be going this direction visually. I also find that it's really, really helpful to check in with people about what they don't like, because I have lots of clients that are like, well, I don't really know what I want, but I know what I don't like, and I'll know it as soon as I see it. I'm like, okay, this will be fun. And truly, in our onboarding process, we talk about, what are colors, patterns, textures you like, what are stores that you're drawn to that have your look, and what colors do you hate and you don't want in your home? Are there, styles, trends, whatever, that you can't stand? That can also be really good information for me as a designer. Even if you as a homeowner don't know exactly what you want, you probably know what you don't want. And I can start to use that to figure out where we're going to go design wise.
And what about for us gals, if let's say we're on a budget and we're like, I can do one room.
Mm-hmm.
I just could do one room. Where do you suggest that we start?
I want it to be every room, but I understand that's also not the point or the question. I'm like, but it all matters. Okay. Truly, it should be your bedroom. If you can improve your sleep, restore your energy, everything else feels better in your life. The living room can be chaos, the kitchen can be a mess, but if you can step into that room at night and it's clean and decluttered and feels welcoming and comfortable, and you can shut down and really give yourself that restoration you need, I think that is absolutely worth the investment. And I say this as someone who has needed to paint her bedroom for 3 or 4 years since getting some drywall fixed, and it's not like, I get it. It doesn't always happen that way. But when people are moving, renovating, doing additions, besides the kitchen from a functional perspective, I always encourage them to get a space for them first, because that's going to give you the bandwidth to do everything else too. So make your room feel good. Make sure that you want to be in there, because we all know what it's like when you don't want to be in a room, and it's not going to help your health or well-being or your energy. So I'm on team bedroom for this one.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because then when rested, you'll make better decisions everywhere else.
Mm-hmm. And people often want to do living rooms and public spaces because it's about other people's perception or what other people will think. Screw them. Go get a good night's sleep. Feel better. Enjoy your room. Get to that when you get to it, but you need to take care of you, and your home should be doing that, supporting you in that.
And you might be able to trust your own design decisions with a private room first.
I love that, because you're right. There's not the pressure of someone. See, you can close your bedroom door. Easy peasy. Try it out. Again, it's paint. It's fabric. It's not the end of the world. Try it. See what feels good. I was shocked when I painted my room a very dark navy. I loved it. I recommend it for so many clients now because my sleep improved, how I felt. It was just like this at the end of the day versus like a light, bright, airy bedroom. So it's all very personal. There's not a right and wrong, but I do think it's fun to experiment and see what you like, see what makes sense for you, see what feels good to you in your body and in your environment.
And Lesley, tell us more about, I'm assuming you can work with people in different places. I don't know, you just working with people in Macon, or how people can get in touch with you, or if they want to learn more about your what you do and the services that you offer, how would they reach out?
Well, thanks, Alli. Yeah, so I work with clients all over. I am from Canada. I've lived in 4 different states now. I actually have a client in the Calgary area right now, and we're doing a complete main floor refresh. So whether local or virtual, I love doing both. And I can support you from just a 2-hour consultation for let's get some ideas and a direction and send you off on your way, all the way through to full turnkey new builds and renovations. So my goal is always to make the process fun and seamless, take the stress off your plate. That's what I'm here for, and help you feel really confident and love your home. So best place to reach me is at my website, which is lesleymyrick.com. I love Instagram. I'm there too. But if you want to learn about me and what I do and how I do it, it's all on the website.
And we'll have that in the show notes so that our listeners will find you easily. And if you had a wish for our listeners today, what would it be?
That it is okay to prioritize your home, and decorating and design is not superficial or fluffy. It's not just pillows and fabrics. It is your environment and it impacts your entire life. So put some time into it, put some money behind it, and make your space something that feels good, because it is more important than you might think.
And my wish would be that we start making our homes for ourselves first, and then not so much worry about what other people think.
Yep, I love that.
Yeah, I was going to say to trust yourself, do what you love before. Alli, why do we always do my idea? We're always on the same page. I guess that's not such a bad thing. But really, to trust yourself and make your home a place that you love.
Yep. I love that. Don't be afraid to trust your instincts. Experiment. It might go great. It might not. And that's okay. You're going to learn, and you're going to create something beautiful that supports your life and your health. And I'm all for that.
Thanks for listening. You'll find me, Alli, on Instagram at Alli Kerr Fitness.
And you'll find me, Shawna, on Instagram at Shawna Kaminski. Feel free to pop us a DM with questions and or feedback. If you're enjoying the Girls Talk Healthy Aging podcast, please subscribe and share it with other health-minded women. Ratings and reviews are also much appreciated and help us get our message out to a larger audience.
Until next time, be healthy and be happy.